Welcome to the world's #1 fitness business podcast for health club owners, gym managers, and fitness entrepreneurs. As always, this will be a great show as we have another expert to help your fitness business and your career. We'd like to thank our premier sponsor, Active Management, for supporting us, and we highly recommend becoming a member of Active Management to strengthen your business in 2016. There are loads of resources members receive, so join the Active Tribe today at www.activemgmt.com.au. Now that's enough from me. Let's welcome the show's amazing host, Chantal. What's on this week's show?
Hi Harper, and welcome back everyone, and thank you for joining me for another week of the show. Now, this week I caught up with JT from Active Management. He was calling in from San Diego in the USA, which is a little bit different to when we usually record our podcast in Sydney, Australia. Now, amongst many other things, JT tells us all about SIPs. Have you ever heard of them before? I certainly hadn't. So it's just lucky that we've got JT to tell us exactly what a SIP is. Now, before we dive into that, this week's sponsor shout out goes to Active Management. How very appropriate. You can get a free ebook download valued at $100. All you need to do is head over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/active. Now, one last thing. Don't forget that I will be announcing the winner of this month's prize at the end of today's show. So that means that one of you guys, one lucky tribe member, is going to receive a copy of Jeb Blount's book, People by You. So make sure you stay tuned until the end of the show to hear if you've won.
This month, we have an awesome prize for people who subscribe to the show notes at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com or engage with the Fitness Business Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or even emailing us. Do it and you may be this month's winner. Now it's time for this week's guest.
That's right, Harper. As mentioned, this week I caught up with JT from Active Management. He was in the US for IRSA, some Anytime Fitness roundtables, a few club visits, and a bit of time with his family. And somehow, amongst all of that stuff, he squeezed in some time to come onto the show. Now, you might recall last month that he shared a story about a small marketing, or let's call it disaster, which proved that even professionals like him get it wrong sometimes. But when I asked our resident globetrotter if he'd had any travel misadventures, this was not quite what I was expecting to hear.
A few years ago, I was in Argentina actually and speaking at the Mercado Fitness Conference. And I have a habit of unpacking my bag and filling the hotel drawers with my clothes, no matter the length of stay, as soon as I arrive. So that's what I did. I arrived, I unpacked my bag, put everything in the hotel drawers, and there was a problem. I'd forgotten to pack underpants.
Well, that's a little bit inconvenient.
Sure was. Anyway, I kind of figured, with underpants you can get them almost anywhere in the world, so I didn't really panic. So I just walked down the street and figured I could buy some. Easier said than done. Thousands of shops in Buenos Aires sell women's underwear, but about under 10 sold men's. So after hours, I finally got some. Now, underpants are the first thing I pack.
I can well imagine. Well, I feel like there's a opportunity there for men's underwear shop.
Maybe in Buenos Aires. That's a thought.
See, there's always an opportunity.
Very true.
Well, I think that proves to us that you're human. Now,
it also proves I wear underwear.
Yeah, well, that's true too. That's true as well. JT, you are normally sitting next to me here in Sydney when we're catching up for your monthly show, but not today. We're actually Skyping it today. So do you want to tell us where you are?
Well, I'm currently on vacation, or as they say, as a millennial, vacay in the US. I met my family in San Diego after the IRSA conference, and we're doing the Griswold tour of California, all the theme parks and all the cool things to see before heading across to Minnesota to join my friends from Anytime Fitness for their roundtables.
Well, that sounds pretty cool, and thank you for joining us while you're on vacay. We appreciate it. Now,
You're welcome.
Last month you said that you were going to cover off the consumer trends list. But before we actually get into that, do you want to give us a bit of an URSA wrap? Because I'm sure I know that you've just finished URSA, and I'm sure that you've been into some clubs while you've been over there too.
Yeah, look, on our website, activemanagementmgmt.com.au, there's going to be some blogs up there around, giving a really thorough wrap of URSA and some of the education. So rather than try to cover that in this show, I'm going to suggest people head over there and check it out. But in the meantime, let me start with telling you about a CrossFit class I did at CrossFit Invictus in San Diego.
Cool. Tell us all about it.
Well, there's nothing special about the box. I mean, CrossFit boxes really aren't anything special, but I can really see how CrossFit get a community. The coaches asked us to introduce ourselves because I was a new person, name, where are you from, then a fun fact about us. I thought that was pretty cool. And I did a Saturday session, so you needed a partner. And boom, I got to meet another person. The workout, the high-intensity part of the workout went for about 30 minutes, and in the last 10 minutes there were high fives from everybody in the group, just trying to push every participant through to get through to that final 10 minutes. So I was really impressed with that sort of feel. And then I can see, why people get results with CrossFit, because the competitive nature certainly kicked in for me. While we're going for time, we're also going for rounds. And because I had a partner, I just didn't want to let him down. So it's a really different sort of a workout to what I experience in a Globo gym or a big gym when I'm working out by myself, or even in some of the boutiques I've been to. I was really, really impressed with the culture of this place.
Yeah, that sounds really cool, actually. I've noticed that as well, even just looking at, various CrossFit boxes and their social media activity, you can actually get a feel for that culture.
Yeah, no, look, I really like it. In fact, years ago at URSA, what was he? I think he's the chairman. I think that's their official role, or the CEO was John McCarthy. And you used to go generally down a long set of steps or escalators down to where the main keynote was. And John McCarthy was always standing at the bottom saying hello, and every single person he said hello to. And they're not doing that now with the current person that's running it, and it doesn't happen in a lot of organisations, but I really like that personalised touch to make people feel welcome, especially if they're new.
Yeah, no, I love it. Great idea. Okay, what else has been happening?
Well, in another San Diego club, as a matter of fact, called Air Urban, they were running a competition called a Game of Tag, and basically it was a Facebook. If you did a Facebook check-in, you got 1 point. If you put a picture on Facebook or Instagram, you got 2 points. And if you loaded up a video, you got 5 points. You had to tag the club, obviously, and the member with the most points at the end of the month won a 50% saving on their month's dues.
That's interesting. It sounds pretty easy for people to take part. And I guess, obviously great promo to boost Facebook likes. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, look, I took a photo of the poster because I really like the concept, but I'd like to tweak it a little bit. So if you're listening, Air Urban in San Diego, here's my number one tip for you and for all the FBP tribe. Are you ready? You're sitting on the edge of your seat?
We're ready.
Look, when you run any competition, you need to make sure that everyone has a chance of winning. So if you've got a member who's out of the gates with the beginning of the month with a competition really fast, and in this example, say gets 20 points in the first week, many members will then think they can't catch up, so therefore won't even enter. And then no one is pushing the first member who got the 20 points, so they just stop. So at the end of a 4-week campaign or 4-week promotion, the end of the first week of the 4, your promotion's dead in the water because people think they can't win, and the person that's winning realises they don't have to work any harder. So a better option would be using the same scaling, 1, 2, and 5, but instead of points, consider them entries. So the more you do, the increased entries you have in the draw to win. That way, even if you check in just once, you've got a chance to win. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a really good tip, actually. And imagine how good it would be if some of those members had loads of Facebook friends.
Yeah, it would be. And I think that's why most clubs are running campaigns like this across the globe. Do you know what we call people with loads of Facebook friends?
I'd call them popular.
Popular. Apparently, as of what month are we now? April. As of April, I think the average number of friends people have on Facebook is about 320.
I feel like I should go and check how many friends I have right now.
Yeah, I reckon there's a lot of...
I'm either going to feel really good or really bad.
I reckon there's a lot of FBP tribe members out there right now hitting pause and heading to Facebook.
Check.
Well, maybe, yes, they are popular. Maybe, well, yes, they are above average. But they're also SIPs.
SIPs?
Socially important people. And these people now drive an economy more than VIPs or VIPs, very important people. In fact, the line is really blurred between SIPs and VIPs or SIPs and celebrities. And this is a new consumer trend for this year. We're seeing this really flourish. People are listening to the socially important people and then follow their actions, their decisions and purchases.
Wow, that's really interesting. I feel like I learn something new every time we catch up, JT. So these SIPs, these socially important people are influencing buying decisions. What should we be doing with these SIPs from a business perspective?
Well, the economy around socially important people and the millions and millions of people who follow them or aspire to their popularity is going to become more mainstream. So this should inspire you in the FBP tribe and drive you to develop new products, services, platforms, and more opportunities for the SIPs, the socially important people, in your community to talk about you. Your opportunity with socially important people is to partner with them, serve them, empower them, and you're going to profit from them.
Okay, so you just said something really interesting there, JT. You said more opportunities to talk about you. So do we as business owners assume that our members will just get on blogs and social media and talk about us?
I think we do, Chantal. I think that we just assume that because we love our clubs or we love our personal trainers or we love our group fitness instructors that our members will do the same thing. In the first keynote at IRSA, Jay Baer said we need to provide talk triggers. That is, things that people can talk about.
Okay, I like that. So talk triggers like, I don't know, maybe launching a new class, for example.
Yep, that'll work. That's a talk trigger.
Or like a new personal trainer.
Yep, that's another talk trigger.
So pretty much anything that gets people talking about you.
Mm-hmm, you got it. It's not complicated, but if we don't provide that talk trigger, then nobody will talk about us.
Okay, that's very cool. So FBP Tribe, I guess what we need to think about is that we've got this responsibility to really provide our members who may be SIPs, socially important people, that material to talk about, to share and to engage with. I really like that insight, JT. Thanks for that.
Well, I don't think it's new, but like, for example, Randy Zuckerberg, who is the sister of Mark, said in another keynote at IRSA that we have to be media companies. We must always be looking for content. So if we take that and use Jay's advice and make that trigger conversation, and then finally ensure your socially important people are sharing and you are on fire.
Love it. I love it. Okay, so while we're on a roll, JT, do you have any other trends for us?
What about this one? Consumers have tended to support brands that have always been kind to the environment. Now the consumer wants to support brands that are kind to their staff.
Ooh, that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The consumer's now saying, I'll shop with you, I'll spend my money with you, or in the FBP Tribe instance, I'll be a member with you if I know, I understand, and I approve of how you look after your staff. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we look over the past 12 months, big companies like Nestle and Volkswagen have not been real popular with the community nor with their staff. If you look as an organisation, FIFA, the world soccer body, I think they've probably got the worst PR at the moment going on in the world.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So the consumer is simply not supporting those brands. On the flip side, we've got that the clothing brand Uniqlo?
Yeah,
UNIKLO.
Yeah.
It's a red logo with white writing. They offer a 4-day work week to help all their staff with family commitments. So the theory is that Saturday and Sunday they spend with their families, but on Friday or the Monday or another day during the week, they do all their commitments for their family.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
I reckon it's really cool. And then the other really good example, and I found this one blew me out of the water, REI, which is a US adventure sports supplier. So they sell like canoeing, rock climbing, hiking, camping, bike riding, et cetera, equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, they famously closed on Black Friday. And Black Friday is world known to be the number one retail sales day on the calendar in the US. And these guys closed. Why? For their staff to do what they enjoy, get outdoors.
Oh, man, that is so cool.
Yeah, well, they went one step further, which I think adds to their brand recognition, and they told everyone with a letter addressed, in fact, to its 5.5 million members, which makes them the largest consumer co-op in the US. They announced plans. Here's what the letter said. Announced plans to close its door on Black Friday, November 27, to all 143 of its retail locations, headquarters, and 2 distribution centres. Instead of reporting to work, the co-op is paying its 12,000 employees so they can do what they love most, be outside. Starting today, the co-op is inviting the nation to join in by choosing to #opt outside to reconnect with family and friends this Thanksgiving holiday.
I absolutely love that.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
That's awesome. So basically what you're saying is make meaningful, positive changes to your internal culture and then tell the world about it.
Yeah, that's it. It was interesting when I was talking about this at URSA, I asked how many people had heard about it, and about half the room had said yes, they heard about it. They were all the Americans, the other half were internationals. And I said, how did you hear about it? She said, and people said, oh, it made the news.
I made the news.
Yeah, it made the news.
There you go.
So, we're
Money
talking
can't
about
buy
getting
advertising, that is.
No, you're absolutely right. So I think it's a really cool example of the business looking after their staff, telling the world, and then we see this impact because it's so unusual that the media pick up on it as a story.
Very cool.
Now, by the way, there's also an undercurrent of two-way transparency as brands are starting to turn the tables on their consumers. We like this one too, by the way, Chantel.
Tell me about this one.
This is where brands are also rating their consumer or their customers. So for years, we've seen sites like Yelp, TripAdvisor, and many more allow the consumer to rate their experience with the brand. Mm-hmm. Now, brands like Airbnb allow the host to rate their guest. I like it. In fact, in the UK, Pret it's like a cafe or a bakery store. They have a freebie budget where they can give free coffee to a polite customer.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And in November last year, the Future Foundation did a study and they found that 46% of consumers would be happy to be rated by a company they are using. Pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's funny you say that because just the other day, a friend of mine was saying that she used Uber for the first time and they rate their customers.
I think they've just changed that and they do rate their customers now.
Yeah. So apparently you rate the driver or the experience and they rate you as a customer. I
wonder if it's the same as Airbnb, because Airbnb, I rate where I stayed, mm-hmm. but my host can't read that rating unless they rate me.
Ah, there you go. We might need to have a look. I don't know.
So, again, it's pretty cool. It shows the power of word of mouth and testimonials and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's a really interesting concept when we're talking about acknowledging the performance of people and how trustworthy they are as a customer, as well as how trustworthy they are as a business.
Yeah. Imagine, Tribe, if there was like a worldwide register or a list of members whose dues or direct debits were unsuccessfully collected, or a list for all of the people that constantly dropped or didn't put away their weights. What do you reckon?
I love it. I can see that happening.
Yeah?
I can definitely
That
see
can happen?
I reckon there'll be a register one day of delinquent payers of gym memberships.
A global list.
Yeah, a global list. You'll be black banned from joining gyms.
I like it. Oh, they are very, very cool, JT. Thank you for those. I can definitely see the relevance for our FBP tribe. Got anything more for us?
Yeah, I find this one a little bit intriguing. Firstly, let me ask you a couple of questions. Did you know in the US, dinner reservations for one person have risen by 62% in the last 2 years, making this the fastest growing party size for dinner?
I did not know that.
What about 24% of global travellers journeyed alone on their most recent trip, which is up from 15% 3 years ago?
Didn't know that either.
What about this? 19% of households, so that's nearly 1 in 5 households, will be single person occupied by 2030, making single person households the fastest growing profile in the next decade.
Really? God, that's surprising. No, I didn't know that either. So I can feel like there's a theme coming, JT, because I didn't know any of that. But tell us how it's relevant to the FBP tribe.
A party for one.
Mm-hmm.
More and more consumers are happy and want to enjoy a party for one. Consumers seek fun, they seek play, they seek enjoyment that, if not tailored to them, can at least be enjoyed on their terms.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but if we look at what's been happening with the fitness industry, I mean, we have been actively driving and inspiring and kind of pushing people into things like semi-private personal training or small group training.
And there's the word that you just used. We're pushing people into semi-private PT or small group training because that's what suits our business. So when I was reading this trend, it got me thinking about myself. And when I owned my clubs, all day I was smiling, making members feel special, having conversations with people. So at the end of the day, the last thing I wanted to do was any more smiling or any more talking, especially with people I didn't really know. Mm-hmm. So I can see exactly why this trend has come about. You know, all day we've got on this persona of being friendly and happy, and I'm not saying people aren't, but then when they finish work or they clock off and then they're thrust into this small group where they have to mix and talk to people they don't really know, maybe they don't want to do that. I know there's a place for small group training. I know there's a small group place for that. But I worry with our enthusiasm to build small group training, we lose sight of what people want, which might be just personal training. They don't want to share. They just want a party for one.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thought, actually. Do you think that we could potentially be losing opportunities?
Yeah, after reading this and sort of thinking about myself, mm-hmm. I reckon we could be. I reckon, perhaps the FBP tribe consider creating one-off solo experiences that your members have to work for. The thrill of the solo experience will be enhanced by the thrill of their status exclusivity.
You know that I'm actually convinced that you can't do a show without talking about status. I'm going to go back to the shows. I don't think it's possible.
No, you're right. I can't, especially after I've just been demoted in my Hilton status this year.
Oh,
do you know how bad it feels to have your privileges taken away from you as you move from gold back to silver?
You poor thing, JT. I've got to tell you, that sounds like quite the first world problem.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Okay, what are you up to next?
Look, I've got a few more weeks here in the US before heading home for Filex, and then I'm up to China, actually.
Oh, excellent. Well, so when you come back here in May, you're going to share some more insights into some other gyms that you visited around the US?
Sure. Why not?
We would love you to
But
do that.
Can I give a quick plug?
Of course you can give a quick plug. What for?
Well, all these gyms that I'm going to see, I am taking photos of inside and out. So for all our members, you'll be able to see the photos on the member hub. And for those on the FBP tribe that are not members, if you go to activemgmt.com.au/join now, become a member, and you are going to see photos from over 30 gyms, boutiques, and more from all over the globe over the coming weeks.
Excellent plug, JT. You're actually doing me out of a job as a voiceover artist there, I think. So get your membership at activemgmt.com.au/join now to see the photos. Thanks, JT.
My pleasure.
Always great to have you on the show, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
The Fitness Business Podcast is very appreciative of our podcast partners. Here's a quick word from one of our partners.
Rex Roundtables is a powerful forum in Europe, the US and Australia for club owners and personal training business owners. In Australia, Justin Tamsett from Active Management runs the Rex Roundtables under the brand Industry Leaders Roundtable. In the show notes for today's episode, you'll find a YouTube link for you to watch and hear more about the roundtables. This 90-second video is a great explanation, so don't forget to check it out in today's show notes. It's my great pleasure to introduce one of our regular listeners. It is Lisa Mills from Lisa Mills Performance Coaching. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thanks, Chantel. How are you?
Very, very well. I'm excited to have you on the show. I've been checking out your business on Facebook. Do you want to tell the listeners all about Lisa Mills Performance Coaching?
Yeah, sure. I've been in the industry for about 24 years now, which, yes, it does make me over the age of 21. Just maybe double that. And my business now is focused primarily on helping business owners and individuals to perform the way they want without them becoming burnt out or without them sacrificing their health or happiness, because in the years that I've been in the industry, that's the number one thing that I've seen. And I know there's a different way to do things, and it's just about educating, inspiring and motivating people to see it differently.
That's fantastic, Lisa. And tell us, we wanted to have a chat to you on the show today because you're an avid listener of podcasts. What is it that you like about podcasts?
Oh, gosh, I've been a podcast devotee for a few years now.
Yeah.
And I only came across yours late last year, actually, and have been loving it ever since. I think the most important thing for me with podcasts is it's just an efficient way to use my time, because I'm either driving or I'm training myself or I'm walking the dog or, I'm taking a little bit of downtime. It just means that I can learn or be entertained at the same time that I'm doing something else.
And what about the Fitness Business Podcast in particular? What is it that you like about the show?
Oh, I think what I love most is that there's such a great access to a wide variety of experts. There's heaps of different ideas, motivation and innovation that I think, would take ages on my own to access if I had to find it myself. And I think that because there's such a wide variety of topics covered on the podcast, both those specific to fitness and also those outside the industry, which I think is really valuable because we can learn a lot from those who aren't in the fitness industry. I just think that you've done a really great job of pulling that together and giving listeners a really broad insight and a lot of different ways to think about how fitness can be applied and grown.
That's so good to hear, Lisa, because that is definitely one of our objectives is, when we started the show was, we started with a lot of industry-only experts and we suddenly realised, well, hang on a second, there's even more amazing people out there that we can learn from and hear from, and that's when we started introducing a number of the authors. So I'm really pleased to hear that you enjoy that part of the show. So tell me, since you have been listening, what are a couple of the ideas or insights or shows in particular that you've enjoyed?
Yeah, there's two that stood out the most for me. Obviously, like a lot of people, Michelle Segar, No Sweat, was just brilliant. I think the main thing that just really honed into me, because I've got a coaching background as well, was when she talked about people's reasons for exercising or not exercising. And I love that insight and that reminder that people's childhoods can have a massive impact on how they see themselves as an adult with relation to fitness. So I loved that. And I also loved the podcast that you had with Tim.
Tim Keatley? Yeah. Tim was brilliant.
Yeah, and I just love the way that he approached how to build a team, being that people first is much more important than numbers first. And I know because I've done a little bit of work with a local gym and their PT or their personal trainers on how to improve their profile and build their business. And I know myself, I didn't get into the business for numbers. I got into the business to help people like most trainers do. And when the business wants to focus on the numbers, you can see why the trainers kind of get a little bit icky about selling. And so I just loved his approach. I loved also that it was about bringing the rest of the world into the fitness spotlight. We've only got 20% of the world really accessing gyms, and I think that's such a shame. I think that he had a really good insight into that. And also, interestingly, and something I was not taught when I was first starting out, was that all trainers need to have a business plan. And so in having that, your team can help you achieve what you want as a trainer, rather than you getting to the stage where you're burnt out and you quit and go do something else that you don't really want.
Absolutely, Lisa. They were both great examples. And for anyone that has missed those shows, if you want to go and check them out, Tim Keatley was show 25 and Michelle Seeger was show 33. So they're great examples, Lisa. So let me ask you this. If you could have us interview anyone at all in the future, who would they be and what question would you like to ask?
Well, I was actually thinking about this and I was inspired, and I can't tell you which one it was because I've listened to all your episodes probably at least twice, but Paul Zane Pilzer around the wellness revolution. I really believe that the industry is missing out on a massive opportunity by not allowing people to see wellness as an opportunity to have a good life as well as fitness. And I would love to ask Paul how you would successfully tap into the wellness revolution and to expand an existing business or club to include wellness and products and services to widen their markets, rather than just look at it from a fitness enthusiast perspective.
I think that is great, Lisa. I think probably the particular show that you are referring to was when I interviewed Christine Thalwitz from the ACAC. If my memory serves me correctly, I'd say that was the show because we spoke quite a lot about what they have done in regards to wellness initiatives and bringing that into their business. And I think that's a great suggestion. So we'll definitely check that out.
Awesome. I would listen to that one yet again then.
I'm glad to hear. Well, Lisa, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show and being our listener interview for the month. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you. It was fun. It's always good to have a talk to fellow industry leaders.
Well, I hope that you continue to enjoy the show, and thanks once again for joining us.
Lovely. Thanks, Chantel.
It's time for the Fitness Business Podcast Wrap.
Okay, tribe, here are my top takeaways from this week's show. JT said that when you run a competition, you need to ensure that everyone has a fair chance of winning. Good advice, I think. He also said that consumers now want to support brands that are kind to their staff, which means making meaningful, positive changes to your internal culture and then telling the world about what it is that you've done. He also talked about having a party for one. And he said that we need to be aware of what consumers want and be careful not to push them into something that we want, for example, small group training, because, maybe these days they don't actually want to share. Now, crew, it is time to announce the winner of this month's prize, a copy of People by You, a fantastic book by Jeb Blount. Can I have a drum roll, please, Harper? And the winner is Tom from Sargent's Fitness Concepts in the USA. Congratulations, Tom. We will be in touch with you to get your prize over to you. Thank you to everyone that entered the draw, and make sure that you listen into next week's show to hear about our May giveaway. Now, speaking of next week's show, our special guest next week is none other than Bill Moore. He's the new CEO of Fitness Australia. Now, you guys know the drill. So we like to get to know a little bit more about our upcoming guests by getting them to answer our Quick Fire 5 questions. So here they are, your Quick Fire 5 with CEO of Fitness Australia, Bill Moore. Okay, tribe, it is my absolute pleasure to be welcoming to the show Bill Moore. Welcome along, Bill.
Well, thank you, Chantal. It's my absolute pleasure to be here, I can assure you.
We are very excited to have you. Now, we're going to get started with your quick fire 5 questions. Does that sound okay to you?
Yeah, fire away.
Okay, let's get going. Number 1, why do you do what you do?
Ooh, out of love. I love for what I do. Love the industry that I'm in. Love my life. That's what drives it.
And what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Always pay your taxes and never drink cheap champagne.
I like it. What's a personal habit that helps you become better at what you do?
I'd say meditation. When you're busy crazy, you need to pull back and check things out. So, yep.
Interesting. Good advice. And what is one book that you would recommend and why?
Oh, definitely the Sydney Morning Herald Good Food Guide.
I feel a theme happening in these answers, Bill. And tell me, last thing, why should our FBP tribe come back and listen to your main interview next week?
Oh, well, there's just so much stuff. I just cannot wait to impart it all. But, yeah, I can't wait to share it all. So, yeah, come back. Come and have a listen.
Fantastic. Well, we can't wait to have you back next week.
Thank you very much. I look forward to it.
Thanks, Bill. Tribe, tune in next week to hear the full interview with Bill. Thanks for joining me once again for another week of the Fitness Business Podcast. And remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.
Great show this week that you should be suffering DOMs, delayed onset mind soreness, as you are overloaded and that's when your mind is strengthened. You and your business have been strengthened thanks to the amazing support of our premier sponsor, Active Management. Check out www.activemgmt.com.au only if you want to strengthen your business and your leadership. Don't forget all today's links and notes are found at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, where you can also subscribe and never miss a show and maybe win a prize. Next week is another incredible guest with Chantal, so get ready for more Fit Bizpiration.